G'day everyone, my name's Andrew. I'm going to be doing an Arlen Ness big rotor kit on my Sport Glide. They're 15-inch rotors. They're supposedly reaping approximately a 30% improvement in braking efficiency, and that's mostly due to the fact that the longer rotors have more leverage than a shorter rotor, and they can therefore pull the bike up better due to the leverage. So the aim of this video is just to document the process of putting it on for anyone who wants to follow after me, although I know a lot of people have already done this. Arlen Ness doesn't actually make a rotor kit for a Sport Glide, so I've had to buy an adapter from Roger Feldner in Canada, and he actually makes the adapter for it. So basically you throw away the Arlen Ness adapter that comes with the rotor and you use Roger's. So hopefully anyone who is actually interested in doing this can follow along as they actually go through the process themselves. I haven't actually managed to find on YouTube a video of taking the wheel off this particular model bike, so hopefully this is instructive and a help. So step one is to remove the brake caliper and tie it up to something so that it doesn't actually put any strain on the brake line. I have a 10mm 12-point socket. It needs to be 12-point, it can't be a 6-point, because you can see that these are weird looking bolts. So I'll undo these. One. Okay. So we need to hold the caliper. Now you just wiggle it a little bit to make sure that the brake pads are separated a little bit now, because it'll help getting it back on later. So now we remove that very carefully, and you can see that this has got a clip. So we need to take that out of the clip. And take this one out of the clip. This is the ABS cable. So we just take the ABS cable out of that clip and we just thread that through there like that. And now what we do is we get a zip tie through there and hold that with the zip tie. Like that. And now we, like so. So that's nice and safely away. It's not actually hitting anything. So this is the ABS cable. So the next step is to basically remove the wheel. The ABS spacer is this thing here, so you can see that. And the ABS cable is right there. And this comes off with a 19mm hex driver. We're going to take a 8mm Allen key and we're going to loosen the pinch bolt at the bottom of the forks, which is just here. It's right there. We don't need to take it all the way out, we just need to loosen it. Now this one here is the next one. This one will actually take the axle out, and that's a 19mm hex driver. Okay, so this is the 19mm hex driver. You can see it's huge. I've got a breaker bar for this because it's better to use a breaker bar when you crack something with a high torque. So we'll put this big bopper on the breaker bar. Now the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything is take note of some things. Can you see there are 2 grooves on this spacer? Those 2 grooves have to go on the outside of the wheel. So if this comes out, I need to know that these 2 grooves face the forks, the outside of the wheel. This one here is the ABS sensor, and that's actually a spacer as well. That one will just come out. So, and we'll just take it, also note of how far rotated it is this way. Next, we'll crack this. Get a good grip. There we go. That wasn't so bad. And we can see that that's winding out the axle. I've just got to keep an eye on this. So I'm going to put a block of wood under this wheel. Okay, that's barely. So now I've barely got the wheel above the ground, or the block of wood. This is 1/2 inch. It's tightening. Oh, there we go. We just want to be very careful of this ABS spacer. There we go, 1 axle. Now we need to very carefully, so now you can see the ABS. So it goes this way. So it went that way. So just take note of that. And we'll try and get this up here. So I've just clipped that back into there, and now that's hanging free. These 2 grooves go to that side, so I'm going to actually place this over here, and it's going to be facing the way it was. And now we can roll out the wheel, and we'll put the wheel down onto a mat so it doesn't scratch it. Okay, so this is the Arlen Ness Rotor Kit. It comes with some mounting hardware and a bracket, which I'm not going to be using, at least not their mounting bracket. This is the rotor. They've given me some instructions. I can tell that it looks pretty flat, so it looks good to me. The T40 feels perfect, so it's a T40 Torx. So we'll get that off with the T40 Torx. Anyway, I'll take these off. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we can now remove this rotor, which looks like that. No dramas there. We can put this aside. So with this, the recessed holes, or counterboard holes is probably the right term, go on this way. So the counter bore faces upwards, obviously. What we're going to do now is we're just going to put a drop of thread locker on each of these, or a couple of drops, and then I'm going to tighten it up just gently with a ratchet, and then I'm going to use the torque wrench to nip them up in a star pattern. Now, so you don't need a lot of this stuff. Then we'll nip them all up a bit more. Okay. That one. Then that one. Alright. So now we'll get the torque wrench. We'll check the torque spec. The torque spec has to be 16 to 24 foot-pounds. I'm going to set it to 22 foot-pounds because I don't have a very good torque wrench and I don't trust it. So I don't want to over tighten it, but I'll put it on the tighter end. So 22 foot-pounds for me. 2 foot-pounds. Now I've got a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter because I'm going to use a 3/8 drive Torx bit. And now to tighten it up in a star pattern. Get your knee down on it. One. Just going to tighten these back up. I've already done this one. I'm going to make these 23, so one off the max, the spec. And I just had a little drama. I used a security Torx, and it actually snapped in the bolt. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we need to get the wheel back in, almost at the right height without me doing anything, so I just got to carefully get this in. Okay, I've got to the other side, so I'm just going to put this here. Now the ABS spacer. I'm going to leave it, actually I'm going to leave it like this just for a second. Okay, so this is where the adapter goes. So next step, I've got the axle nearly through, but I decided to put this on first. I think this is wiser. Alright, so I think it goes there. I know it goes there. And I ran them through with it unattached, just so that the threads, because I think the screws have been coated or painted, so they're a little tight. So I freed them up. Okay, that's good for a trial run. So that's in finger tight. Now I'll find out what the torque spec is and I'll do the next step. Okay, so now I have to put in a couple of drops of thread locker on this. And I have to tighten it according to the Arlen Ness instructions to 30 foot-pounds. Bottom one is in. I've already done a little test run just to make sure that it all nipped up okay by hand. It was a little bit tight to get going. A couple of drops of thread locker. Get this up finger tight. And now we'll get the torque wrench and torque that up to 30 foot-pounds. Wrench set to 31 foot-pounds because the actual manual says it's a little bit higher than that, but it is within the range. So I'm going to go for 31. Doing the bottom bolt first, then the top one. Just make sure I haven't slipped here. It's all right. So I've done that to 31 foot-pounds. Next step is to get the actual brake caliper on here, and this says that it's actually 30 foot-pounds as well. The wheel needs to be on to do that, so I'm going to now put the wheel on next. Carefully before I took this apart, I know that this has to go that way so that this is actually angling away from the wheel, and I know that this also goes up this way, so this will go into there like that. And I don't see any tricks here. That's basically an encoder surface, and there's an encoder in here. It needs to sit in. Okay, I felt that go through, so I'm pretty sure that that's through the spacer. Now I just need to lift this a fraction and get this to start screwing in. So I think I can feel that starting to go in. So that's all going in. So I can put this back on. And it's going in. That's fantastic. So let's just get that in. Let's make sure that this encoder, before I nip this up, is in the right position. So I'll just get this closed. Close this gap. Yep, that's closing up. I'm happy with that. Just make sure that, let's spin this and make sure that this rotor looks true. It looks dead flat from where I'm looking at it. The way I can see the edge of that, there's no waviness at all, so I'm happy with that. Okay, let's check this encoder. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to try and just get this brake caliper onto here and onto the disc. Got it? Alright, now hopefully the caliper will be apart enough to do this. If not, I'll have to pry it a little bit. So I've pried the brake calipers apart more, and I'm now going to try and get this onto the rotor. Mucking around, I've worked out that you have to see the spokes, or the cast spokes. You have to make sure that this is really expanded in the brake shoe. The brake shoes are really expanded apart, and also that you don't hit these because it's a devil to get on. But once you get it there, it's all good. So now all I'm going to do is now that I've got this secured, is I'm going to get some blue Loctite on this, and I'm going to put these torque these up to spec as well. But before I do that, I'm actually going to torque the front wheel into place. Okay. According to my notes, the front axle has to be put to 55 to 79 foot-pounds. I'll go for 77 foot-pounds because I don't trust my torque wrench, but I'll put it up towards max spec. And the side pinch bolt needs to be at 21 to 25 foot-pounds. And again, I'll do it to probably 23, 24 foot-pounds. That's done. Yeah, 25 foot-pounds. Done. We'll leave the torque wrench. Never leave a torque wrench with tension on it. It fatigues the spring and wrecks it over time. pounds. I'm doing it to 31. It's still within the spec of the manual. Arlen Ness is 30. Bottom one first, followed by the top one. We're done. Take the tension off the torque wrench. Put it away. And we're done. So now we just see that that all runs. It's not hitting the calipers at all. We give this a few pumps just to get the pressure back up. And I'm really happy with that. It's a very even sound. I think that looks absolutely perfect.